spelling noob. Mission complete. New mission. Daddies ain't got nothing on you.
Got an order? Once your sigil's improved? Your weapons won't betray you. Skyfarers, huh? Which one? Show me. What kind of weapons you need? Come back sometime.
Hello there.
Hail, friends! Sorry for missing the action. Wish I could have gotten here sooner. As I took my first steps into the town of Folka, I was greeted by the crew, who I hadn't seen in what felt like ages. It should have been a happy reunion. But instead, I felt shame for not being there when this Skydom needed me.
It took you long enough, Slowpoke.
And the razzing had already begun. The captain treated me like a personal punching bag.
You must be the famous Eternal I've heard so much about. I'm Roland, Folka's resident handyman. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's all mine, Roland. I'm Sovan, leader of the Eternals. We exchanged smiles and handshakes. So far, so good. I didn't sense any signs of deceit, but nothing's ever simple when it comes to astrals. Kinda hard to trust the people who once invaded your homeland, you know. Make no mistake, Roland had the power to conquer nations if he wanted to. So, is it true that you're an astral?
Yes, there's no escaping my past. However, not all astrals are cut from the same stone. With that being said, I realize old prejudices die hard.
Hey, if you don't start trouble, then neither will I.
It's a deal. I'm sure I'll earn my keep given enough time.
My gut was telling me I needed to keep an eye on this Roland guy too. Otherwise, I'd be shirking my duties as an Eternal. But for now, there was someone else at the top of my wanted list.
Name's Id.
Ah, put it there. Jeez, he had a crushing grip. Suddenly, my body was racked by an unimaginable sensation. One that gave me chills all over. You know how pressure builds up before a dam bursts or a volcano erupts? That's the best way I could describe the ridiculous amount of force pushing back against me. I've fought my share of tough guys before, but this never felt anything like it. Seems like the power gauging went both ways. Play cool, Sovan. Flash him your award-winning smile. What's up?
Nothing. Sorry.
I was afraid it would come to this. I'm sorry, Captain. I hope you'll be able to forgive me for what I'll have to do. I checked myself into a room for a few nights. Keeping tabs on Id was going to take a while. Since I've got nothing else on my plate, I figure you guys could use another handyman. I'm more like a handy army, if you will. Although I had persuaded Id to spar with me one-on-one, there was little to learn when the stakes were non-existent. Thankfully, the gods threw me a bone.
Help! We've got monsties stomping around by the waterfront!
The waterfront?
Id looking shook was a rare sight to see. That place must have meant something to him.
Just our luck. Grand Cypher's still in the shop.
I'll go ask Roland if we can borrow a ship.
Damn it.
This was my chance to see how Id reacted when pushed to the brink. And of course, we had people to save as well. If you don't mind the squeeze, I've got my two-seater that I flew here in. Need a ride?
Good idea. No monsters will stand a chance against you two. We'll catch up as soon as we can.
Got it. See you there.
My plan went off without a hitch. We took off for Tempio with id pointing the way. This place we're heading to, anything special about it?
Yeah. I promised the people living there I'd keep them safe.
Then there's no time to waste. Last thing I wanted on my conscience was my failure to protect the innocent. Lives were at stake, and that's all that mattered.
I see him up ahead. Let's move!
Roger Dodger, let's take care of this lickety-split.
Their numbers are absurd.
Calm down, kid. You and I can handle twice this much.
Guess so. I'm going in.
Hungo!
It's another wave. This'll be easy.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate news for my investigation.
I need you to go all out here.
Hold on. Oops. Spaced out there for a sec. I'm with you. Take it! Hungo! Cat and mouse. Hungo!
You guys! We got more trouble! Monsters are all over the village!
You're kidding me.
Stay focused here, Id. Leave the village to the cap.
Yeah, okay. Let's wrap this up.
Whoa! You touched
Cat and mouse.
stuff!
Ah, that must be their gem.
It's a bone army! Where'd they all come from?
I've got this. No match for me! Holy crap. Now that's power.
Aw, yeah! Time for the id show!
Incoming.
That's the Crypt Keeper who keeps raising the dead.
Die!
Oh, look! It's raining stone! Oh, no! Hungo! I can't believe what I'm seeing. He's unstoppable.
I know, right? This dragon was freaky at first, but now everyone thinks it's the coolest thing!
Is that right? Never would have guessed.
I should approach.
Well, better for more. Yeah, that power is bad.
Hey! Take that, Skelly!
All right. Now for the village. I hope we are not too late.
Id's entire body twitched with impatience. His anxiety was getting the better of him. Go on ahead with Vern. I'll stick around here to mop up any stragglers.
Thanks. I owe you one.
Come on!
I watched them depart, then turned back to my task at hand. That power of his is off the charts. And to think, he demonstrated such devastating power without even fully knowing how to control it. Tackling godlike entities was par for the course for us Eternals. Frankly, in his current state, I'd stick Id several tiers below the toughest of the tough, but he could easily shoot up the rankings. Fully powered or not, the instant he transformed into a mini Bahamut, I'd seen enough. If he ever figures out how to unlock the secrets of Bahamut's destructive might, then gods help us all.
Can I have a second?
Ready for some action? Mission complete! easier than eating apples.
Breathe calmly, and the bow will take care of the rest. I can grow even stronger. Good. Great. Ooh.
Love it. Good stuff. Ooh.
Huh. Guess I don't have limits. Heh. That'll do. Groovy.
Good.
Excellent. Well, well.
Let's kick some tail!
Come to view the requests?
The 11th hour was approaching fast. I wanted to spring into action, snip the weed at the roots. But I decided to check in with Twain first, just in case. His power is a ticking time bomb. You want to live with endless guilt after he goes off? 'Cause I don't. Sky Dwellers, to a certain extent, possess something called a boundary imprint, which links them to the boundary. The Sky Realm was going to have a very bad day if his dragon powers ever crossed streams with the boundary's energy. That fear wouldn't stop haunting me. Who's to say the kid had the mental fortitude to withstand the dragon's temptation? Bahamut didn't climb up the supremacy ladder with pleases and thank yous. We'd be smoking piles of ash by the time we decided to move. I was banking on Twain sympathizing with me.
In other words, assassination.
Unfortunately, yes. Believe me, this is our last resort.
Well, I disagree.
When I asked her why, she said I'd fallen prey to confirmation bias. She was still in the process of making her own determinations about id.
We know good people who once threatened to upset the sky's balance. They changed for the better and were welcomed with open arms into the crew. How can you be so quick to judge a book by its cover?
She added that the captain's journey was fraught with danger. Success hinged upon having crewmates of diverse backgrounds and talents. And you think id can be one of those people?
Yes. He'll prove himself soon. You'll see.
She always knew how to make a compelling argument. Heck, part of me was even rooting for the kid to conquer the dragon's power. Fair enough. I'll put Plan B on the back burner until further notice. A gentle breeze cooled my skin as a church bell signaled the coming hour. Squeals of laughter from rambunctious rascals filled the town plaza, while their elders engaged in pleasant banter. It was a lovely day. Too lovely to be spent digging up dirt on id. And yet there I was, playing private detective. You gotta do what you gotta do. Still had no idea how he got his powers in the first place, but his handyman reviews were through the roof. The guy did anything and everything for Folka. He even ran sword training classes for the town's tykes. Guess Twain was really onto something. Id boasted an impressive resume that proved his worth to the captain's crew. There was no way I could move to eliminate him. No, snap out of it, Sylvan. You're supposed to remain impartial. Don't let yourself be hypnotized by Folka's bewitching serenity. As it turned out, not everyone spoke so glowingly of the brooding swordsman. Case in point, I found a lady whose testimony supported my misgivings.
Yes, he did save me from danger, but I just can't get over his terrifying visage.
May I ask why?
He tore through monsters like paper. Does it make him less of a monster if he's the one slaughtering them? What if he snaps one day and comes after me and my family?
The masses fear power beyond their comprehension. These misunderstandings can snowball into skywide chaos. If we could keep a tight lid on id's might, then everything would be hunky-dory. Whether the captain and us Eternals could form a tight enough seal was the problem. Even if I wanted to give id the benefit of the doubt, I had to assume the worst. Another gorgeous day. Light winds and not a cloud in the sky. I leaned on the deck railing of the airship and stared out into the forgotten sky. This is it. I arrived at the spot where it had rescued Roland. He had opened up the hole to another dimension. Was it reversing dimension something only six dragons were capable of? Can I bridge Relink a kid who's capable of tearing the fabric of space to live? Can't hold it against him that his astral foster mother led him down a path of darkness. Not to mention, his body had been hijacked by a literal dragon god. Don't be stupid. Unlike the other problem cases in the crew, this guy is beyond saving. He's an irredeemable menace. I hated that annoying voice, because I knew it was telling me what I wanted to hear. He's too dangerous to be left alive, and you know it. The voice began pestering me after I teamed up with the captain to resolve a crisis. revolving around the sky's wedges, aka the 6 dragons. Good luck trying to silence your own thoughts from yourself. It sounded exactly like me, because it was me. A Sylvan of an alternate world spoke from the time-convergent boundary. Apparently, I had made wildly different choices in that timeline. Id has an imprint, what with him being a sky dweller and all. It's bad enough he's got the power of destruction. What happens if he acquires the boundary's power of creation, too? I was no expert in that mumbo-jumbo, so I'd have to take his word for it. Of course, I'd take it with a hefty dose of salt. Just let him talk, and hope that he tires himself out. Fine. I won't beat a dead horse, but here's some food for thought. Take a peek at this vision of Id getting his hands on both powers, and then tell me you're okay with turning a blind eye. A searing vision ripped through my skull, and left me with a pounding headache. Where do I even begin with what I'd been shown? There was a dragon, presumably Id, on a murder-fueled rampage. His breath left behind wakes of charred soot that scattered to the wind as islands tumbled out of the sky. The ultimate strength belonged to him, and he unleashed it upon the skies until only a hollow husk of a world was left. Big deal. It had a 1 in a billion chance of happening. That's practically 0. Neat trick. You almost had me going there. Who was I fooling? So long as Id drew breath, practically 0 wasn't 0. I hate this. As much as I wanted to slap the smirk off my other face, I knew I was right. And that's what pissed me off the most. Sorry, Toyin. I can't wait for your judgment any longer. You'd understand my position if you'd seen what I'd seen. Suddenly, Anra's words rang in my ears.
Sometimes making impartial decisions means losing the sympathy and understanding of others.
True enough, old friend. True enough. If that makes me public enemy number 1, so be it. This is my duty to the world.
What's this all about, Sylvan?
Id eyed me with great suspicion, and he had every right to do so. One doesn't get called out to the monster-infested Skyworm Valley expecting to have a fun-filled picnic. Thanks for coming on such short notice. You might want to sit down for this. It wasn't going to be an easy pill for him to swallow. I told him about his boundary imprint, the boundary's power, all that jazz. It was imperative for him to understand that one wrong move could spell doom for the world. Prevention is the best cure, meaning you've got to go. I took everything, and I mean everything, into consideration. I'm just doing my job here. No hard feelings. In my mind, I pictured a dragon's silhouette, racing through the sky above the valley, raining death and decay upon the land. I told myself I was doing the right thing.
I see.
Considering the gravity of what I'd just told him, it was doing a good job of staying composed.
I can't dispute the fact that my power has the potential to cause disaster.
His eyes burned with the will to fight.
But here's the rub. I'm indebted to the people of these skies, and I aim to repay them. The Sky Realm granted me this strength for a reason, and until I understand my purpose in life, I swore I'd never let this second chance go to waste.
I knew he was doing everything in his power to help the captain and others. You can't fake that kind of sincerity.
Come hell or high water, I will survive.
He made a big show of drawing his great blade. Yeah, right. As if that would dissuade me. Fine then. Let the games begin. We were both swordsmen, and we knew the score. Only one of us was going to come out on top. I, Sovon, the Star Sword Sovereign, shall cut you down! All right, buddy. Throw the kitchen sink at me.
I have no intention of losing to you.
Come! All right, let's pull it together!
Keep up.
Come on, suckers, let's see what you've got. Cat and mouse. Nice. Who knew you could keep up with me?
See, we're going to need it.
Man, it really sucks we couldn't have met under better circumstances.
Not over yet.
Faster.
Better watch out for any big attacks.
Won't hold back.
Good. I like a fun challenge.
You should be able to dodge this, right?
Arrogant punk. Oop.
You won't escape me! Send it! Come here.
Come!
Take this! Keep up. Suffer!
Oh, look! It's raining swords!
Oh no! Faster!
Oh no! I'm defenseless.
Come here.
Come!
Suffer!
Hunger!
You're finished!
And Pesta!
You're done! Take this!
Keep it going! Step up! You're through! Nowhere to hide!
I'll kick your ass! Awaken! Your dawn has arrived! Become my power!
Free the beast.
Sovon! Resist!
You gonna sit there or infinito creare?
Destruction!
Better watch out for any big attacks.
Alright, let's pull it together!
Lose myself ever again.
So you can rein in the dragon. What a surprise. Oh look! It's raining thunder!
I'll prove it.
That'd be awesome if you could, kid. But I just don't see it happening. I heard the story. You and Mommy Dearest tried your very best to wipe out Sega Grande.
That's my sin to bear forever. No! Till I pay it forward. Death is the coward's way out!
Tough luck, kid. I finally broke through its tenacity and forced him down onto one knee. The kid wasn't a monster, far from it. But I had to heed the warning from my other self. Without the guarantee of him mastering his powers, I couldn't take any chances.
I refuse to stay down!
To my surprise, he wobbled back up on trembling legs and readied his hulking sword again. What does he eat, iron?
You won't stop me from keeping my promises!
Then I guess we're about to find out who's on the right side of justice. Neither of us spoke at this critical juncture. We raised our swords and prepared for one last strike. Suddenly, there came a whistle of air followed by an almost inaudible thud. Crap. Thought I had more time. The instant I saw that quivering arrow shaft sticking out from the ground, I knew my best laid plans had gone up in smoke. I'd been busted by the Goody Two-Shoe Squad, and I didn't need to guess who was part of that team. Twain, Lyria, Vern, and of course, the captain. Twain reached me first and alighted gracefully by my side.
Now that's weird. No one consulted me about dragging it out into the wilderness to murder him.
No, really, what could I say? The rest of the group came sprinting over while I got chewed out.
That's enough, Sylvan! Why are you two trying to hurt each other? Yeah, what's got into you guys? We're all supposed to be friends!
Look, we've still got a situation here. Don't come any closer.
Knock it off, dummy!
It took a second for the slap to register, but when it did, oh boy, did it sting. The others stood there in uncomfortable silence, unsure if it was wise to speak.
Do you still trust me?
Knowing when to cut your losses is a valuable skill. Nothing more I could do but sheath my sword. The captain had this uncanny ability to inspire hope when the chips were down. I swear I could see this heroic aura glowing around them. Ever since I first met the captain, I could always rely on them as a bedrock of integrity. If I ever stumbled down a hole and vanished from the face of the Sky Realm, the Eternals and the world would continue chugging along without a hiccup under their lead. So back to the question. Did I still trust the captain? There was only one answer to that. Yeah, I still trust you. 110%. My beef with the Dragon Kid was all but cooked. I never have and never will lose faith in the captain. Now it was time for me to put that faith to the test.
Yeah?
Hello there.
Well, this was awkward. I turned to Id and gave him the best I'm sorry I could muster. Outcome notwithstanding, this mess was on me. It was entirely within his right to stomp all over my apology, if he chose to do so.
Forget it. I still don't get that boundary thing you mentioned. But given the destructive nature of the dragon's power, I can at least see where you're coming from.
Great. Way to twist that knife into my guilty heart. He and the captain were so much alike. Super kind, yet, at times, super ruthless. A dangerous combination, to be sure.
Last thing I'll say about it is this. I'm going to keep using my power for justice. I choose to believe that's what the skies intend for me. So, if you let me live a bit longer, I'd appreciate it.
Say, you ever heard the phrase, noblesse oblige? It means, those who bear great power must bear an equally great obligation. Wonder if the kids ever heard that expression before. Doesn't matter. He's the shining example of what that phrase entails. I was offering him an olive branch by laying down my arms. Of course, the captain didn't see it that way. You're always slow on the uptake, came the harsh rebuke. Don't get me wrong, Id. You haven't earned my complete trust yet. But if the captain says you're good, then you're good. For your sake, I suggest you don't lose their trust at any cost. It looked like he wanted to get something off his chest.
This is going to sound silly, but I'm jealous of the rapport between you and the captain.
Huh? What do you mean? Jealous? He lost me there. Captain acts like a saint to everyone except moi. I'm treated like the scum that gets scooped out of a fish tank. Now I've gone and made myself sad.
You're special. No one else gets the same level of snark or ribbing that you do. Isn't that worth something? You guys share an affinity beyond regular crewmates. I'd go so far as to call it familial.
Yeah? Huh. That, never occurred to me. I mulled it over in my head. Yeah, like the way siblings squabble, right? I totally play the big brother role to a T.
More like younger.
Huh? But age-wise, that wouldn't make any sense. I swear I just saw a figment of TN smirking at me. Curse you, kid, for spoiling the mood. Curse you!
Hey, Sylvan! This letter came for you!
Awesome. Thanks a bundle, Lyria. Once we'd returned to town, I had drafted a report about the id kerfuffle and sent it off to Anra. My hands trembled ever so slightly as I unsealed the envelope and my pulse began to quicken. Must have been the stress over the response that lay waiting within. I hadn't sugarcoated any of the details. I judged id to be a threat and attempted to eliminate him. But the captain's steadfast guidance helped me cool my head. Me in the old days would have been like, "Slay first, ask later. The leader of the Eternals is always right." I cringed at the recollection of my former pig-headed self. But on to the letter.
Dear Sovan, I read your report with rapt interest. I get the sense you're conflicted about your personal development over the years. I don't know how helpful this may prove to be, but I'd like to offer my perspective. People change all the time. That shouldn't come as any surprise. As we've seen with Foer and Seox, the Eternals are no exception. It's safe to say the Captain's influence is largely responsible for altering the paths we've taken. Even an old coot such as myself has managed to learn new tricks. As far as I'm concerned, the Eternals have changed for the better. By that logic, you would simply be the newest member to undergo a long overdue transformation. You made a decision as expected of a leader, and no one can argue with that. Sincerely, Onra.
No one understands me like you do, old friend. Looks like Onra was letting my bonehead mistake slide without too much of a fuss. At least this time, anyway. That was a small weight off my shoulder. People change all the time, he said. It sounded so obvious. But hey, when you're right, you're right.
Hey, Sovan! Come help us, Lazy Bones!
It's always nice to feel wanted. Your wish is my command. It would seem my trials and tribulations had only just begun. Before leaving this skydom, I'd need to perform a spectacular deed to erase my name from the captain's crap list. A lazy bones, am I? I don't hear anyone else getting called lazy bones. But wait. So wouldn't that make me special? I feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Upon my arrival in Zega Grande, the crew introduced me to Id, one of their newest acquaintances. He'd been at the eye of the storm, and it wasn't hard to see he was talented. He was equally as strong as the captain. No, perhaps he had a higher ceiling. Sovan gave a big smile as he shook hands with Id, but I felt the crackle of tension in the air. Meanwhile, Id struck me as a troubled youth. Something about his mannerisms led me to believe that he too had suffered unfairly because of his power. He would have fit right in as the 11th member of the Eternals. Would it be alright if I lent a hand with your handyman tasks? Now that I was here, I decided to make myself useful. Maybe then I'd gain more insight into Id's constant self-reproach, learn the meaning behind those words he so often spoke.
I must atone for the crimes I've committed.
As the story went, the Church of Avia sought to throw this skydom into chaos, and Id had served as one of its generals. Yet as far as I could tell, the people of Folka seemed to have already forgiven him, and were treating him as one of their own. This swordsman had made sacrifices for the well-being of others, and he appeared determined to continue doing so. I couldn't imagine anyone accusing him for not atoning enough. But in fact, there was one person capable of it. Id himself. When I heard about the dragon power that had been sealed in his body, I felt a cold chill go through my own, a fear and uncertainty. For him, it's a burden he'll have to bear for the rest of his life. One day, Sovan and Id were called away on an emergency mission to exterminate monsters. After Sovan came back, he didn't look happy.
His power is a ticking time bomb. You want to live with endless guilt after he goes off? 'Cause I don't.
Whatever threat he saw in Id seemed to have rattled him. I didn't want to dismiss Sovan's misgivings outright, but the captain was a good judge of character. We needed to take our time getting to know Id. I'm going to withhold judgment and trust what my eyes show me. Suddenly, Sovan motioned for me to zip it. His eyes darted from side to side, then he left without a word. How odd. Had someone been eavesdropping on us? At any rate, I had to step up my surveillance on Id. And what better way to stick close to Id without raising suspicion than by joining the Fix-It team? Now, when Id said he did everything, he was not exaggerating. I giggled at the thought of the stone-faced bruiser tackling some of these jobs. Monster slaying? Of course. Finding a missing dog? I could see him doing that. Dishing out love advice? Oh, to be a fly on that wall. Helping the townspeople was a welcome break from the family Zothba's incessant interviews. To think the Eternals' exploits have made it this far west. Anra and Sovan sure know how to leverage our brand. As Zothba likes to say, business is business. I shared info about the Eternals. He gave me the scoop on Id. Turns out, his home on Dolly Island was destroyed in a catastrophe 15 years ago. In the aftermath, he found himself adopted by the church, along with other foster brothers and sisters. Knowing that he hadn't grown up alone was of some relief to me, though I couldn't exactly tell you why. Regardless, I kept hacking away at the ever-expanding list of errands demanded of a handyman. One day, Id set out on an emergency request, and this time I followed. We'd come to Dolly, his old stomping grounds. From my vantage point in the air, I scanned the vast, sweeping desert with my monstrous eyes until I spotted our client amid a gaggle of fiends. Id, move to your 9! Hurry! My partner charged forward while I secured the rear.
I'm saved.
That was a little too close. As I tried to calm the shaking woman, I noticed a haphazard trail of loose boxes and cartons leading away from us, no doubt created during her desperate attempt to flee. I'll go collect your cargo. Id, will you stay here and... I was turning to look his way just as he cleaved a monster leaping out of the sand. He simply nodded back. I think I was becoming a fan. Alrighty then. Time for this archer to wrap things up with a great big bow. My associate Id will keep you safe while I collect your stuff. Be right back.
Okay. Thank you.
Go on. I got this.
Let's see now.
Watch it, Twain! Big bad wolves!
These pups are in for a rough time. Oh my. Let's start with the first piece. Alrighty, on to number 2. Looks like this one is history. What could you be? There you are. I sure hope nothing's happened to our merchant while we were gone.
I wouldn't worry too much about that. She's got the best bodyguard around.
As the saying goes, birds of a feather die together.
Uh-huh.
What's this? Now for the third. Let's see now. everything.
Haha, sweet! Let's head back!
Ambush! Get away, you fiend!
Help me!
Come on! Taste defeat! Covering!
Time's up! Nothing like having your own hand to hold the fort! They just keep coming! Or we'll show them who's boss!
It's over! Your fate was sealed from the very moment I laid eyes on you.
You tricked me! You're a monster! She's closing! Wow! Not cool, lady! It's busting out all the stops to protect me! Here's a gift! Wha-bam! Down for the count!
It looks all clear to me. I'm not seeing any more foes.
Thank goodness.
Are you sure that guy's on the level? You saw him turn into that monster too, didn't you? There was that word again. It's all right. You have nothing to worry about. We'd slain every last enemy and secured the woman's safety, but that did nothing to soothe her nerves. I caught Id's gaze for the briefest instant before he quickly looked away. He's not your enemy, he's a friend. He used his power in order to keep you safe. It was no use. Prejudice had already clogged her ears.
Sorry.
With a subdued apology, Id turned on his heel and headed for the ship. This likely wasn't the first time he'd experienced persecution, nor would it be the last. Once Id left the scene, the client seemed to snap out of her hysteria.
I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me.
I felt compelled to say something, but my mind drew a blank. The woman opened her mouth to speak, though nothing came out. In the end, she simply kept her eyes glued to the spot where it had stood. Change wasn't going to happen overnight, but I chose to be optimistic.
All right.
Can I have a second?
Let's kick some tail. Easier than eating apples.
Hello there. As we pulled into Fulka, I saw a throng of people lined up along the dock awaiting Id's return. Some jumped up and down while others waved in jubilation. There were a few grumpy faces in the crowd, though I'm not sure why. Unlike it, they weren't afraid of expressing their emotions. The man of the hour himself was taken aback by the hero's welcome. Nevertheless, I saw a sliver of a smile creep across his face. He'd touched the hearts of many serving as Folka's handyman. Not a single one of the grateful residents saw him as a monster. Having had the pleasure of working with Id, I was able to draw several conclusions. He wasn't big on words, and when he did speak, it was short and to the point. Yet he never brandished his attitude with the intention of causing harm. I sensed no bitter embers of resentment smoldering within him. Nor did I sense a deep-seated grudge for the hand he was dealt. His positive reputation stood as a testament to his unwavering resolve. Be that as it may, Sovon was correct in treating Id's destructive power as a threat. People who didn't know him would easily mistake his power as a tool for evil, and that's before it had even reached its fullest potential. Right. The Dolly catastrophe. According to Roland, the force that devastated Dolly over a decade ago now courses through Id's veins. That power of destruction had already carved its place in history. The future is not mine to predict. However, I am an Eternal, and I have an obligation to ensure that the world remains at peace. Dolly was empty. Not that I expected visitors. My only company was the occasional gust of wind that blew in to kick up dust. In the hubbub of trying to keep the client safe, I hadn't had the chance to soak in the scenery. Broken structures from the disaster 15 years ago lay half-buried amid the ruins, like sunken ships in a sea of sand. I spotted a rusted seesaw, forced to retire from ever lifting another gleeful passenger. A sigh escaped my lips. After cresting a dune, I came to a stop and reflected on my own mission. How was I supposed to handle Id from the perspective of the Eternals? Was I to judge this man so beloved by his community, simply because he harbored the potential for catastrophe? I was so lost in thought that I didn't realize I wasn't alone anymore.
This used to be my neighborhood.
What was he holding? Flowers?
Oh. These.
Turns out he made frequent trips to Dolly to pay respect to the fallen.
Lilith found me here. My real parents were probably... already...
He looked down at his feet as he continued.
This wasteland is Versa's legacy. The dragon that was sealed within me. And now his power and I are inseparable.
Id himself wasn't to blame for the catastrophe. That much I knew for certain. But with such devastation quietly resting within him, it was hard to let things slide. Not to mention, he did have a record of going berserk before joining the crew. Power and responsibility go hand in hand. I had to make a decision soon. There's nothing inherently wrong about wanting to get stronger. But when you're blasting away entire villages with the snap of a finger, that's where I draw the line. In the beginning, I saw a bit of myself in Id. People shunned my extreme abilities, and I retreated into my shell because of it. He, however, had a strong support system in place to prop him up. It hurts to admit that I was once beguiled by my own weapon, the two-crown bow. Id, as he is right now, wouldn't have fallen for that trickery. Still, I had to be sure. Hey, mind if I ask you something? Let's say you were facing down the ultimate villain, and the only way to win was to lose yourself to the dragon's power. Would you take that chance?
If that's what it takes to save lives, then yeah. I'd use that power in a heartbeat.
So he was ready to put his life on the line for others. Good to know. After a short pause, he added a caveat.
Because even if worst comes to worst, I know the captain will knock me on my ass if I screw up.
With that, he stared off into the desert sky, which seemed to stretch into eternity. I couldn't help but smile. Winning people over when you're on an entirely different playing field is no easy feat. Believe me, I know. He'll tolerate the jeers, the scorn, and the acrimony, but he'll never tolerate his failure to help others. It was finally clear what I had to do. Upon my return to Seed Hollow, a member of the family Zothba dropped off a letter for me, and I wasted no time in reading it. I could feel the author's disdain in every word.
I hereby challenge Twain of the Eternals to a duel. You can't hide your plot against it from me! Meet me at Seed Hollow Castle, now. Former commander of the Silver Wolf Corps, Galanza.
Okay? Not sure who this Galanza person was, but we both knew it, apparently. I smelled a trap. On the other hand, if it was involved in some way, then I had no choice but to investigate. When I arrived at the castle, a domineering draft motioned me over.
Well, well. You must be Twain.
As soon as I gave him a curt nod, he leveled his spear at me. He was definitely the mysterious author of that letter.
I knew you wouldn't leave me hanging.
He roared with laughter, eyes fixed on me like daggers. You mentioned a plot against Id. Would you care to elaborate? Suddenly, the man wasn't laughing anymore. He accused the Eternals of plotting to assassinate Id, whom he saw as a younger brother. So Sovan's instincts had been right. There had been someone eavesdropping on our conversation. Now that I think about it, that was around the time the family Zothba started peppering me with questions. We should have been more careful before speaking so candidly. Still, the discussion to eliminate Id had occurred before we had all the facts. I needed to clear this up. This is all a misunderstanding. Galanza snorted and readied his weapon. Anything I had to say would be a waste of breath. I knew the type, too proud to admit wrongdoing. The only language they understood was combat. All right, Buster, your funeral.
Step on up! It's time for the death match of your lives! You better bring it!
Don't expect me to go easy on you.
Nobody paints a target on his head and gets away with it. Nobody. You can take your reasons.
Fearless
Don't bring your trash into my sky of Eternal!
My money!
You
Here
have to
goes.
fight! The Eternals don't disappoint!
For someone in such hot water, you don't seem to feel the heat at all.
We're through! Storming death!
You can't beat me. Have you considered surrendering?
Nice try! Wasn't that to bring me?
Confound it all! I take no pleasure in watching a beatdown from the sidelines! Well, well. What furious guests we have!
Who invited you?
I'll berate you later. Focus on the monster before us!
Ooh, another rabbit has entered the fray.
Hey! Got your blades in order?
But of course.
If it can break? Yeah!
And we shall break it! Come! Let's end this!
Killer Tail Storm!
Now where was I?
There's your caught in that.
Back to... If you would be so kind.
Now, I got you, Maggie! Got you in my grip!
I've got you now.
Hey, answer me then! Why?
Perhaps for the same reason.
One more time! Ah!
Let's not leave them wanting. Now for the encore!
Killer Tail Storm!
I know.
Look, Alonzo.
Pack it up! This show's over!
I am the Dark Hunter. Even shadows won't hide me. Here's a gift. No mercy.
Fear not. I shall carry the torch. Focus.
My crew. Got it. Ready.
You Eternals are tough. I can't believe you're pushing us into a corner.
This hunter never fails to catch her prey.
To battle! The hammer forged by sword! Arrested from demons! Ray Kubo! Save powered by divinity! Caduceus! Challenged by legend! Skybound! Stage is set for the big bang! Come on! Come on! Ready for your life!
1,000 cuts. I've got you now.
No! No! This cannot be! Oh, you are not worthy.
Goodness. That ranks as one of my top 5 hardest fights. The two mysterious attackers were on the ropes, but they hadn't lost their spirit.
It's gonna mop the floor with you. You should have brought every Eternal with you if you wanted to stand a chance!
I'd sleep better if we could have at least taken one of them out.
It wasn't the loss itself they lamented, but rather their inability to protect someone important to them. I was relieved to know they weren't bad people. So I did the only thing I could think of to diffuse the tension. I smiled. As I was trying to say before, this is a big misunderstanding. I'm on your side, and I intend to stand up for it. Once they realized I wasn't going to take their heads, they finally decided to believe me. There was only one hurdle left in Id's way, and its name was Sovon.
Yes, can I help you?
I tracked down the captain in Seed Hollow and gave them the rundown. Perhaps uncoincidentally, Sovon and Id were both missing. Visions of a bloodbath flooded my mind, and I admonished my overactive imagination. We had to find those two before grave mistakes were made, ones that could never be corrected. Unfortunately for us, Sovon did a stellar job of covering his tracks. His precautions proved that this time, he meant business. What we needed was a clue. Oh. There was an entire business devoted to gathering intel right here in Seed Hollow. How could I forget? They were the ones who facilitated the castle duel in the first place. I figured I was owed a favor for having to deal with that inconvenience. The captain and I entered Zothba's tavern right as an informant returning from Folka was reporting on the whereabouts of our missing boys. The family still held open distrust for the Eternals, but as always, the captain put in a good word for me. We rushed to Einstedo Archipelago. What would have taken dozens of spotters hours to comb the chain of islands, I surveyed in seconds. There they were, in Skyworm Valley. Hard to miss the flash of sparks erupting off of clashing steel. That's enough! I fired an arrow that landed squarely between the two, stopping them in their tracks. The surprise on Sovon's face dissipated in a split second. He knew the jig was up. Sovon didn't know it, nor had I felt the need to tell him, but Anra gave me special instructions before coming to Sega Grande. If our leader decided to take matters into his own hands, the duty to stop him fell to me.
There's little Sovon can't fix, given how strong he is. I fully expect him to try and solve everything by himself.
Now that's weird. No one consulted me about dragging it out into the wilderness to murder him. Don't get me wrong, Sovon. I know the responsibility of keeping the world safe is a heavy one. I should have done more to talk things out with you, so we could come up with a solution that would please everybody. But as the saying goes, all's well that ends well. Maybe now we can finally set aside our differences and have an honest chat over a warm meal.
Gosh, thanks for taking the time to come talk to me. I was kinda hoping to make an apology to Id today.
The same woman who had been terrified of her savior had hired me to give her advice. Imagine that. Me, a counselor. If I ever got tired of the Eternals gig, I think I'd make a great Miss Fix-It. Case in point, my master plan was about to come to fruition.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
What? What's he doing here?
An awkward silence followed as the woman looked at me, pleading for a lifeline. Nope, you're on your own. But I did give her an encouraging smile. Got plenty of those. Realizing my lips were sealed, the woman timidly faced Id. She gathered her courage and spoke from the heart. She expressed regret for the abuses she had hurled at her rescuer. She'd been trying to find the nerve to apologize ever since. Little by little, she laid bare her true feelings.
I'm mortified by my appalling behavior. Please accept my heartfelt apologies. The next time I need a bodyguard, the job's all yours. I won't hire anyone but you.
The sudden change in the woman's demeanor was as evident as the surprise on Id's face.
Sure. Thanks.
Oh, was that a hint of pink I saw in his cheeks? Well, I was an archery expert, not a people expert. I never knew what to say at times like these. It's interesting how the little things can spur big changes in our relationships with others. Watching new bonds form in real time was a treat. Sometimes all it takes for two hearts to beat in harmony is the twang of a bowstring.
Twain, can you see into the future?
Who's to say? Personally, I'd say he hit the bullseye.
The Grand Cipher, its crew, and the endless blue skies. I never would have imagined myself posing for a painting against such a backdrop. But there I was, on the docks of Folka, standing beside my fellow models, Lyria, Vern, Id, and the captain. How did I get roped into this, you might be asking? Well, I can assure you I didn't volunteer. You see, it began a few days prior while I was perusing the wares of the Knick-Knack Shack. There, slightly hidden in the back, a painting had caught my eye. What drew my attention to the piece wasn't the scenic rendition of Folka, but rather the hue that stained the sky. It looked distorted. I felt compelled to ask the creator about their intentions. With Sierra Carte acting as an intermediary, the artist agreed to field my questions. In exchange, I and a select few would have to pose for a new piece. According to Id, the latest of the crew's allies, modeling was well within the bounds of a handyman's duties. But, returning to the topic at hand, once the portrait session concluded, I asked her to elaborate on the meaning behind her choice of colors.
Well, I'm not sure if I can explain it without sounding insane. Every time I look at the skies these days, it sort of feels blue? Like in the figurative sense, I mean.
In other words, she saw deterioration in the sky's health.
I don't know. I'm probably the only one who sees it that way. Maybe it's all in my head, but something doesn't sit right with me.
Such sharp perception. Perhaps this is what sky dwellers call artists' intuition. If the health of the sky is in actual decline, an examination of the wind element may help us locate any symptoms. Even the tiniest, most imperceptible change can balloon to catastrophic proportions. At worst, it could lead to the complete destabilization of the tetra elements. To ignore warning signs, no matter how trifling, was a recipe for disaster.
Wind element. Wind element. Oh, Furican might know something. Let me ask.
Lyria closed her eyes and beseeched the primal to appear. We waited, to no avail.
Huh? That's weird. Furican isn't responding to me.
According to Lyria, she'd spoken to the primal as little as a few days ago. Given the primal's newfound silence, it did seem as if something was wrong.
I don't like where this is going. I think this calls for a trip to the old mines.
The captain nodded in agreement.
As far as I'm aware, Tempeal's recovery has been trouble-free. Let's hope this is just a fluke.
The only way to know for certain was to see it for ourselves. We quickly boarded the Grand Cipher and departed for Tempeal to hunt for clues. Peace had barely returned to Zega Grande Skydom, and now chaos was already brewing once more. The knots in my stomach grew tighter by the minute.
I'm not seeing anything out of the ordinary, to be honest with you.
The self-proclaimed handyman known as Roland had joined our investigation of Hailwind Altar. Astral though he may be, he was a close ally of the crew. As a long-time denizen of Zega Grande, his knowledge of the Skydom was second to none. To think there existed an Astral who had laid his life on the line for the good of the realm. It was difficult to reconcile Roland's personality with my own biases, especially having witnessed Lucilius's sinister deeds.
Wait, there's something close by.
Allow me to amplify your energy, Lyria. Now, can you try calling Furykin again?
Sure. Here goes.
Once again, the primal of vitality failed to appear. It's becoming clear that the wind element is acting abnormally. It's more pronounced here than in Folka. Ever since the 4 Primarchs relinquished their oversight of the Tetra elements to nature, I've been able to utilize my Supreme Primarch powers to feel elemental currents. Yet I also sensed a faint foreign dissonance, one which was different from the irregularity in the wind element. Whatever it was, it seemed to be flowing towards a singular point elsewhere in the Skydom.
Hang on, I finally got through to Furykin. But something's not right.
A chill washed over my body, though it came and went in a flash. Judging from the look of panic on Lyria's face, the situation had taken a turn for the worse.
I was hoping I was wrong, but this aura can only mean one thing. Oh no, not this icky pressure again. I can't believe it's back.
That can't be. I thought we...
Here it comes!
A turbulent gale nearly launched us off our feet. Squinting through the howling wind, I saw the unmistakable silhouette of a primal beast rearing up on its hind legs. It appeared force was our only option. You give us no choice. We shall make you see reason.
Hate to say it, but Angra Mainyu's still pulling through.
I'm so sorry, Furykin. Even after we beat Angra Mainyu, he never completely went away.
We'll find a solution later. First, let us concentrate.
Here it comes!
Focus on evasion. Impressive.
Everyone, come to me! Ward of light, come forth!
Great job, Lyria! Furykin is changing its form. It may have new tricks up its sleeve. Be ready for anything!
Finally, shows its true face. Very well. Then I won't hold back either.
Keep moving.
Listen to him, or else we're sitting ducks!
Enough! I have you by the power of one. One more push and victory is ours.
You can do this!
Be still!
Okay, Lyria. Your turn.
Got it! I'm sorry for what you had to suffer through, Furykin. But everything's all right now.
Lyria's calming words soothed the primal. Now that Furykin was freed from its shackles, it dissipated quietly into the air, as did the projection of Angra Mainyu. We could only hope that we had seen the last of Furykin's fitful outbursts.
Lilith, you still haven't loosened your grip on this Skydom, have you?
The infamous Angra Mainyu was not what I had expected. Hearing about it was one thing. Being in its unsettling presence was something else entirely.
I still don't get it, though. Why'd old Gusty wait until now to start kicking up a storm? I mean, Furikin could have caused some serious damage already if it really wanted to.
I have my guesses. You see, during my old research days, we Astrals delved into the concept of emotional intelligence.
The primal beasts of Zega Grande formed pacts with the islands to serve as their guardians. It had been Roland who convinced the masses to worship these primals as primeval gods. Instilled with the people's faith, the primals' influence over the environment expanded significantly. Obvious treachery was responsible for Tempeal's misfortunes, resulting in a loss of faith in Furikin. As that confidence waned, it was only a matter of time before the primal beast went berserk.
With that being said, this change is too rapid. Furikin is consuming too much power.
Having lived in Zega Grande for so long, Roland knew an irregularity when he saw one. All we could posit for certain was that the stagnating faith in Furikin was weakening the wind element. Was it simply a case of lost confidence? I had a nagging suspicion there was more to the puzzle.
So if we don't restore that faith, things won't go back to the way they were.
Yes, that is the natural conclusion. I'm afraid swaying hearts will be easier said than done considering the damage Furikin has caused. But as they say, time heals all wounds.
Such optimism. Though his reasoning had merit, I did not believe we could leave fate in the hands of an old adage alone. May I interject?
What's wrong? You sound kinda serious.
As far as Zega Grande is concerned, Furikin is the next closest thing to the wind element itself. If Furikin's power drops, the wind element would consequently weaken. I needed to hammer home just how pressing this issue was. We find ourselves in a predicament where Zega Grande's islands are destined to fall out of the sky.
Wait, what?
You'd better start talking.
Gladly. However, the problem at hand requires a brief history lesson. And so, I recounted how the islands of Fanta Grande nearly fell into the Crimson Horizon. All because I had disrupted the equilibrium of the Tetra elements. Fire, water, earth, and wind. Island buoyancy is predicated on the delicate balance between those four. I was convinced this loss of buoyancy had made its way to Zega Grande, though I couldn't place the origin of the dissonance I felt. It was too faint and hard to trace, like trying to detect a grain of sand in the sea. The process could take as long as a century or as little as a year. Either way, it had begun. The clock was ticking.
A collapse of the balance between elements. Interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
So, just because the Islanders don't believe in Furikin anymore, the wind is weakening, and someday the island will drop out of the sky?
More or less.
I can't sense the elements at all. How are we to rectify something we can't detect?
Maintaining the balance was paramount. A single loose thread could cause everything to rip at the seams. Restoring faith in the primal beasts, who represent their respective elements, should, in theory, stabilize the equilibrium. I presented my idea to Roland, and he agreed.
You make a sound point. Right then. Leave it to Mr. Fix-It. My experience with mending relationships shall not go to waste. I'll have a talk with everyone in Einstedo.
Roland had the trust of the townspeople, so the wind element was in capable hands. That left 3 elements unaccounted for.
Well, guess it's up to us to handle the rest. It'll be fun taking another tour of Zega Grande.
It always seems like we're heaping more and more troubles on your plate. I hope you don't mind?
Not at all. We'll make you proud.
You know what to do, Id. Let's show everyone what happens when Team Handyman steps up to the plate.
I'm on it.
With a strategy in place, we set off for the next island. A daunting task rested on our shoulders. We needed to rebuild the people's trust and faith. But I believed in the potential of Sky Dwellers, and I was finally a light who could guide them.
Can I have a second?
I smell a new mission.